This video is part of our quick tricks series of very quick lessons to give you tricks up your sleeve with After Effects. The first in our series of quick tricks is going to be this sort of word reveal from behind a hidden wall, if you will. We're going to do this. It's a very basic, straightforward trick, but it's the kind of thing that you can use to animate text and give it a little style. I'm going to do composition, new comp, wall reveal, and we're going to go ahead and leave it at 24p, 1920, 1080. All this is fine. I only need about a few seconds, so I'm going to have it keep it at 10 seconds total time for my timeline, and the background of black is totally fine. All right, everything looks good here. We hit OK. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to create a new layer for text. So I'm going to go Layer, New, Text. It arms me with the text tool, and this window comes up and I can start typing. It's set to center. I can double check some of those settings here under paragraph and say, yeah, I want it centered, but the character controls are here. If I already know I don't want this font, I can quickly choose a different font. We'll just grab a nice thick font here, and I'm going to type Webster. All right, our lovely university. All right, so if I want to align this to center, there is a quick way to do that. When all of these controls are up, which if they're not for you, you can go to the little fast forward thing and go all panels. There is an alignment panel, and you can say center from left to right and center from top to bottom. So now I know it's pretty much in the middle of the screen. Sometimes, depending on your spacing, it might not look right, so feel free to make adjustments. Now, speaking of making adjustments, one of the things that I think is really valuable to get used to is the idea of playing with the kerning. So what do I mean by that? So while my text tool is active, I'm noticing that the space between the S and the B is a little extreme. So I'm going to click in between, and I'm going to hold down Option on a Mac, and I'm going to close this gap just a little bit. And then I can jump to the next letter, and I can double check that as well. So if anything doesn't look like it's spaced correctly, you can hold down that Option key, and you can basically tighten things up or widen things out. It's that kind of finesse that actually will separate your work from people who don't have very much design skill or experience, kind of like myself. So that can make a huge difference before we get too carried away animating this. Okay, so the next thing I need is I got to build the wall that's going to block this. So I'm going to go once again to the Layer menu. I'm going to go New, Solid, and a solid pops up, or the controls for the solid pop up. And basically, it defaults to the size and shape of the comp you're working in right now, which is cool. We want to change the color, or if we want to change the color, we can either eyedropper a color off our screen somewhere, or just click straight in and be able to change it. We're actually going to leave ours white. White solid is perfectly fine. We're going to hit OK, and then of course, because it's above my text, now I can't see it anymore. If we want to move this down, which is what we do, I'm going to uncollapse the little caret here in the corner. I'm going to go under Transform. I'm going to find that position control, and then I'm going to go to the Y. X is first, Y is second, and I'm going to pull it down. And I want to basically have it just so that the words can come out from behind there. All right, so now I've created an obstacle for it to go around. So the next thing I want to do is I want to actually have my words move. So I'm going to go back to my controls, and instead of having to sort of mine in by clicking into all these little carets, I actually know that I want to mess with the position controls. So if I've clicked on this layer and I hit the letter P, then the position controls pop up immediately, and it's very easy to make your adjustment. So I'm going to look now for when I want this animation done. So I want my little workspace to probably be no more than 3 seconds. So I'm going to go about 3 seconds in. You can see that that's what I've done over there. I'm going to hit the letter N, because the B for beginning is already set by default. I've created a range of area now that's not quite as long, and it's a little easier to have it loop in over 3 seconds. So let's say that by the first second I want my animation done. I want it to reveal over the course of just a second. So in a sense, this position is where I want it to land. So I'm going to set my first keyframe right here. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the timeline. I'm going to manually set a keyframe. And then I'm going to actually move the y-axis down so that I can hide my words. All right, so now when I hit the space bar, it should animate up, which is pretty good, and then loop at 3 seconds and then up again. All right, but the problem is, obviously, we can see the wall. So what we're actually going to do now in order to make this wall disappear is we're going to change the nature of how the lower level, the words, are being combined with the upper level, the white solid. So if I go into the track matte area, you'll notice this is set to none. If this isn't an option for you, go down to the modes and just pop back to the other one, okay? Sometimes you can be left on a previous setting. So I go to none and I say I want to Luma matte, but I want to invert it. So basically I want everything that's white to be solid. So as soon as I do that, I now have no wall there. And if I back up, you'll notice that the words do indeed come out from behind the wall. So the key is to be able to build something bright enough that when you say, I want to Luma, which is the brightness based, key this, and then invert it so that in a sense we don't even see it, that is what gets you this effect. And this of course can be combined one word at a time. It could be sentences that build themselves. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you could use this effect to add a little spice to your text.